Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of our podcast. With the current pandemic situation, I strongly believe that a huge chunk of our audience started college online and probably still haven't been to college campuses yet. Don't you want to go to college and forge new experiences? Find mentors and seniors and reach your highest potential? Fret not, ZBC brings you a first of its kind podcast where we bring you notable seniors and alumni to discuss a wide range of topics, from projects to internships to placements and even college life in general. We got it all covered for you. Me, Heli Dhamesha, along with my co host, Uzair Aladdin, are gonna make sure all your doubts about college are answered right here.
Today's episode is called Perfecting Placements, and we have here with us Mr. Siddharth Singer Roy as our very first guest. Yes, guys, he is the same senior who grabbed offers from 7 super dream companies, worked on numerous projects, hackathons, and is experienced in competitive coding. Impressive profile, isn't it? So, first of all, Bhaiya, congratulations to you for achieving such an amazing feat and for your placement in Microsoft. Starting off, could you please give us a brief introduction about yourself to our audience?
Hi everyone. I am Siddharth Sinaroy, currently a final year student pursuing a degree in computer science from the Vellore Institute of Technology, Chennai campus. I also rank 3 in academics with a CGPA of 9.55. And apart from being strong in my academic side, I also have interest in the practical side as well. I have completed multiple hackathons, many of them international, national level hackathons. I've participated in projects, competitive coding competitions, and done a lot of internships throughout my 4 years at college. And if you do not find me engrossed in CS stuffs, you will find me with football or TV series or anything new, dramas or anything. So that's about me.
Wow, that is a very impressive profile, and I think with the introduction, we finally got to know that you are very much human like us. You enjoy football and series and all, like all of us here. So, bagging 7 super dream offers to us, it sounds too good to be true. How does it feel to have accomplished that?
Truthfully, I was surprised, taken aback when I saw my names flashing like it was done via PPT. We were not given a mail. Our chancellor, we had a Zoom video call. Our chancellor was there. There was a PPT entire thing, and they were just showing the selected students. And when I was seeing my names in like almost all of the lists, so I was shocked. Like, but the truth is, when I my first company was Microsoft, so once it was shown, I actually just like did not see the rest of it. So I was informed by my friends that I got selected in other companies as well. So that was my entire reaction when I first saw it. And it feels actually good. Like when I joined, and as a fresher, you hear about super dream offers, Microsoft, or all these top companies. And after these 4 years, when you achieve this, there's a huge satisfaction in it.
I'm sure there is, Bhaiya. I'm sure there is. Now, coming to the academics part, Bhaiya, how has your experience with college been? Like, what were the highlights of it for you?
When I joined in 2018, this was my first time in a hostel environment. I was always in my home. I never visited anywhere without parents or anything. So living without parents and even home food and everything. So the first few months were like very full of anxiety, and there was a fear of what's going to happen, like living independently. But I did find good friends from day one, which have stuck with me for the rest of my. We are still friends. We go out. We go on vacations currently as well. So it has been a good ride. Ups and downs are always there, but it has been a lot of ups in my college life, like winning hackathons or getting meritorious awards from college. And the main highlight was working with my seniors. Like there was, you would know, vPropel, which is a coding platform for the college. So it was made by my seniors. So when I was in my first year, I think they were in the third year. So Those people made that project entirely. So when I went in my second year, I got an opportunity to actually work on that project. So under them I learned a lot, and there's like whatever I have done today or whatever I am today, be it the technical or the practical side or anything, they have a huge contribution to that. So that has been the major highlight, like working on vPropel with them.
Okay, so I guess that going from that anxiety period to working on a project, you grew a lot during that phase. How did you begin your journey to reach where you stand right now? Like the small steps you started taking?
Uh, when I joined in first year, I was like mostly engrossed in academics. I did not do a lot of outside stuff, just whatever was taught in the curriculum, I focused mostly on those. But as I went in my second and third year, I was a little deviated from my academics to the practical side. So I was into hackathons or making personal projects or doing some internship or research work or anything, or even open source. So uh, if I say how did I begin my journey, it's like I took small steps. Like first I focused whatever they taught in college, like the basics. And I think in the first year we had Python, C, and C++, these three. So I started from the basics. Like I had Java in my school, so learning Python, there was entirely new thing. So, and even that stuck to me for the rest of the 4 years that I've been continuously developing projects in Python, be it machine learning, DevOps, or web development, or anything. So everything like started from small steps. Like I first focused a little bit on academics and the basics of computer science, and then I slowly grew and every day's efforts in it.
So slowly but surely. So when did you figure out your direction, Bhaiya? Like, how can students who are confused right now figure out their domain?
So first, I'll talk about how I figured out what I wanted. So I specialize in web development mostly, both front end and back end. But I do have other knowledges. But my main focus is web development. So my entire uh, focus came in the second year when I was, as I said, vPropel. I was working on it under my seniors. So it is then when I got a chance to explore the field of web development, and I got some genuine interest in it. So I explored it continuously, then and then learned new frameworks, languages, and everything. So that's how I got my direction. So to advise students who are like confused or cannot figure out what domain they want to pursue, I'll say try exploring all the domains. Like you don't have to like make projects or learn or do anything, just try exploring. So there are multiple domains, like we have web development, app development, DevOps, competitive programming, machine learning. So there's like vast variety of domains. So you can just read articles about what's like the basics of web development, basics of app development. You do not need to code or do anything. Just you can read articles, watch YouTube videos. So you will see that one of those domains actually interests you, and that's when you can say that you have found your domain of interest. Then you can deep dive into that.
So I guess you have to first see whatever is around you, what all options are there, and then select and find your interest, whatever you feel you can go forth with. So I think once you have a domain in mind, you start setting goals for what you want to do later on. What were your goals that you set in mind? And did you have a very rigid plan laid out for yourself? Or was it like a start out with something and then some trial and error thing?
uh, when I came in like 2018, I did have a plan, but not a rigid plan. And you'll see that once you make plans of like 4 years, you'll see that there are multiple changes, there are multiple revisions to that plan. New things are being added, things will be removed. So yes, I did have a plan, and I like mostly in my first year, I will say I did have a plan, but again, it was majorly deviated in my second year when I focused on web development. So I decided that for in the second, third, and fourth year, I'll solely focus on web development. But again, there were again changes made to the plan. When I was making projects, I realized that this is not a correct way of doing certain things, and there are better ways. So in such cases, I had to learn new technologies, new domains. So I started with web development, but currently I am comfortable with web development, machine learning, DevOps, cloud deployment. So again, these are some revisions that I had to do in my plan as it goes on. But yes, I did have a plan in mind that I will try to do this. These are my goals that I want to achieve in my college life, like winning some hackathons, participating in coding competitions and winning them. So there were plans, but again, there were multiple revisions to the plan as I was going on.
So improvisation is the key. So what would your advice be, to those students who are starting their college experience behind a computer screen, like students like us? Like, how could students like us reap greater coding experience according to you?
So like you're mostly like in the initial years, maybe you have pursued computer science before or this is the first time. So the main advice I'll give you is try understanding in depth. Like for example, I'll give you an example. Suppose you're doing some program and there's an error, you copy that error, you go to Stack Overflow, you get the solution, you copy the solution and done. You won't learn by this. You know, you solve the problem but you did not learn why the problem occurred. So what you should do is, if there's an error, try to understand why that error occurred. So if you go to Stack Overflow, there will most of the times there's an explanation of why it happened, how to resolve it and everything. So you need to understand in depth. Like you will see many of your friends are currently in the first year itself pursuing machine learning, cyber security and everything, but they would not know the basics of computer science. Like I have seen people who can uh, write Python, they are applying decision trees to the models and everything, but they do not know what a tree is or what a graph is. So concentrate mostly on your basics at first, then you can develop on that. And if like the saying is, if your building's foundation isn't strong, then the building will collapse. So once you're starting, try to focus more and more on the basics of computer science.
Okay, so you suggest we first build up strong foundations and then go on layering different technologies on top of that.
Yeah. Yes.
So, in one of your recent interviews with Arsh Goel, you mentioned that it is important to maintain a balance between your academics and practicals. Are there any tips that you would like to share with our audience to maintain this balance, especially when you come towards the more serious years where you have more subjects and most of them are really important?
So in second and third year, what happens is you are introduced to the core computer science subjects like DBMS or operating systems, DSA, so stuff like that, and it becomes a little bit difficult. But again, see, maintaining balance between academics and practicals isn't difficult. For example, suppose you're making some shopping cart application, for example. In that, you will have to have a lot of database optimizations and everything. You have to design your entire database schema. That is again your academics knowledge. It will help in your academics. So if you have a proper practical knowledge, it will obviously help you in your academics. So it's not something like if you're focusing on your academics then you won't have a practical side, or if you're focusing on practicals then you won't have an academic side. It is interrelated with each other. If you're good in academics, there's a high chance you'll also be good with practicals, because if you understand what's like, if you understand the basics of data, DBMS, how to normalize, how to design a schema, then it's very easy for you to design any database schema for your projects. Similarly, vice versa is also true. If you know how to design a database schema, you can also apply it in your academic questions that you face. So but again, to maintain a balance you need to understand, main thing is understanding the basics. If you have basic knowledge, for example you're doing something, if you understand it in depth, then it will help you in academics. Another example I give you is, many people don't focus on it while doing the project, but it's concurrency. So many people do not even focus on that part, but concurrency is a huge part. Again, it is abstracted by a lot of libraries that we have, but people do not even care about it, or since it's personal projects they do not actually want to think about or do anything about it. But again, if you are focusing on concurrency, you will also see that it helps you when you're writing your question answer academic part. So everything is interrelated with each other. You just need to understand everything in depth, and that will help you both in your academics and the practical part.
Right. So they are interrelated. So, Bhaiya, how and when did you start building up your profile and maintain your resume?
So maintain my resume. I think I'll advise everyone to make a resume the first day in your college. You make a resume, you upload it, and then as time goes on, you change the resume, add revisions to it. So try maintaining a resume from the first year itself, even if you do not have any achievements, work experience, projects, or anything. Try maintaining one and building up your profile. Like, there's no need to separately build up your profile. Like, once you properly utilize your 4 years of college, you participate in hackathons, coding competitions, you also focus on your academics, you will see your profiles gets built up automatically. Like, you will see opportunities being given to you. You can show achievements as hackathon wins, competitive programming wins, your rank in online competitions and everything. So you do not need to focus on building up your profile. Like, if you properly utilize your 4 years at college, your profile will automatically be built up.
Okay, so I think it has to be a continuous effort, and you need to keep on adding stuff to whatever you started from.
Yes,
Uh, yeah.
I think you should go on.
Okay, I thought you were about to say something. I'm sorry. Right. So, moving on to internships. What is the procedure for internships, and what are the rounds that students need to clear in order to get an internship? Like, for example, your placements with Yake Technologies and your first internship.
So I'll talk about my first internship. Like, when I applied it via LinkedIn. So I contacted, like, I'll say a brief on how to get internships first. So there's first I'll say there's no harm in applying to as many as possible. Like, you will see that there's a requirement list. You should be proficient in this, and you will see there are 10 skills. Suppose you know five of them, you can surely go ahead and apply. Like, there's a very rare scenario that people will actually know 10 out of 10 skills. So go ahead and apply, and if they reject, then that's their decision. You try your best to apply and get selected there. So you should always apply and maintain a good portfolio, resumes and everything to enhance your chances of getting internship. So talking about the rounds, normally you will face, there are multiple rounds for, like, a startup has a different criteria, unicorn will have a different criteria, and MNCs have a different criteria. So for example, in startups you will face mostly questions related to the role directly. Suppose you have applied for React front end developer, you will face questions related to React. So my internship at Yake Technologies was data analyst role and a bit of backend. So I was mostly questioned about basics of data science, some data analysts, some visualizations. So most of these were my questions. While questions that I faced during my internship selection at NatWest Group was more based on DSA, system design, my resume, behavioral. So the procedure will depend on the companies and how they hire. So you can obviously go on Google. There are LinkedIn posts, Medium blogs to describe the entire internship process. So you could use that to further get increase your chance. But if I say there's no generic rule, but just to say one, startups will prefer candidates with better projects, hackathon wins. So because MNCs can train you, but startups do not have the time to train you. They want you to be working from day one. So you should be good with the project and good with the development side mostly. While if you're applying for MNCs, you should be good with the basics of computer science, DSA, core CS, and most of those.
Okay. And Bhaiya, so you had landed a summer internship with NatWest Group in your third year, which turned into a post-placement offer later on. Usually students stress about getting an internship during the third year. So, do you have any advice for such students and how they can go about it?
So, like as I said before, like, there are again multiple ways: startups, unicorns, and MNCs. So, NatWest Group is an MNC based in London. So, we had basic DSA round, OOPS, DBMS, system design round. So, All of these were accumulated into one round, and it was like, I think, 30 minutes round. So uh, they mainly focused on the core CS subjects and everything. While if you're again applying for startups, you will face specific questions. So if you want to get internship in third year, as I said, try utilizing your first and second year. Like if you start from third year, then it becomes a little bit difficult. So you can utilize your first and second year properly so that it increases your chance to get an internship in third year. um, Again, as I said before, main advice is just start applying for as many companies as you can. Like, don't self reject. If if the company rejects, that's fine, but don't self reject because you think you're not good enough or anything. So try applying to as many companies as you can, and it will surely be beneficial for you. And
So,
if I had to give you advice on like how to get a PPO offer, so PPO is mostly based on how you perform in your internship. So like in a 2 months internship, there's not much of a contributing scope that you have in a 6 month internship. So mostly in a 2 month internship, what we have is that we don't get a chance to work on the core product. We mostly are given some side project of that product, and we work on that. So again, they have some criteria of success, whether your internship was successful or not. But there are other things that come to factor while you get a PP offer, like how you interact with your colleagues, peers, how do you put your ideas, how you think, and everything. So a lot of things come into play, but it's mostly based on how you perform in that internship.
okay, I think this gives us a gist of it. And as that saying goes, there's no harm in trying. So we should try and apply to as many that we can and work our best that we can. Moving on to placements, you secured 5 on-campus placements from Microsoft, PayPal, Morgan Stanley, D-Shaw, and Odan. One placement secured through a hackathon by JP Morgan, and one PPO offer from NatWest Group. We feel you are more than qualified to answer all of these questions. Uh, so, the first question that I would like to ask you is, what are the skills that we should focus on for a good placement?
So coming to placements, companies mostly focus on problem solving skills. So that's the main thing they want. So you will see that mainly people will prepare via DSA or competitive coding. There are platforms like CodeChef, LeetCode, where you can prepare for DSA and competitive, and it enhances your problem solving skills. But there are other ways. Like for example, I did not have a inclination towards competitive coding or lead code or websites like these till my final year. When I think my I started my placement preparation in February, so that's when I actually started to use these platforms. Like I did a little bit of CodeChef for like 1 month during third year, but I stopped it because I had no interest towards it whatsoever. So my entire problem solving skills is via development or hackathons or projects that I build. So I'll talk about how development enhances your problem solving skills, because if you go on YouTube or LinkedIn, you will see that people will say just do competitive coding to grab offers from these companies. Um, so there are two ways. So development, there are people who will like they are going through a tutorial. Suppose the tutorial is they are making some clone website. Suppose they are doing LinkedIn clone or any website clone they're doing. So that does not enhance your problem solving skills. You can learn it. That's a good way to learn. You could do some tutorials and learn it, but that does not solve a problem. And what your project should aim towards is solving problems. So for example, me, in my third year I wanted to update my personal portfolio website, which I built in my second year. I could not, because in second year I did not have that much of a good coding styles or anything to do. It was mostly hard coding and everything. So it wasn't possible for me to edit it. So I thought instead of making a new one, I would use some online website maker or anything to build my portfolio. To surprise, I did not find any thing that will suit my needs. For example, there was something like on GitHub which required me to compile the entire project myself, or there are websites like WordPress which give up huge opportunities, huge things you can select from, and it becomes a hectic. Like there's actually a specific role for that WordPress developer. So I did not find something that would suit my needs. So I built a project on that, which was used by a lot of people. So, and that was every interview round that I faced, that project was asked multiple times, like what it did, how was its architecture, how did it solve the problem, and everything. So that's how I improve my problem solving skills. And that's how you should improve it. Like, you should see a problem, you should have a problem statement, and then try working on that problem instead of doing some tutorials or anything. Try get a problem, try solving it, and it will be improve your problem solving skills. And that's the main thing that's required for a good placement: problem solving skills.
Okay. So problem solving is one thing we should all keep in mind. And Bhaiya, what's the minimum CGPA requirement to sit for good placements?
So um, there's no minimum CGPA. Like, you can enroll for on-campus placements regardless of the CGPA. In off-campus placements, many companies do not even ask your CGPA, or like there's no filtering based on that. But in on-campus placements, at least in VIT, there's a good amount of filtering. So if I had to suggest a CGPA, I'd say try to maintain it as high as possible, because sorry, it will improve a lot of your chances to get shortlisted, sit for interviews and everything. So for on-campus placements, try having a very high CGPA, like as high as possible, according to your skill set and everything. So because it benefits you, not only you can cross shortlisting or anything, but again, if you have a high CGPA, it means that you focused on your academics. So your academic core subjects would be strong, which again would help you during your placements. So for example, I was very strong in database management, operating system, uh, OOPS, DSA, and that helped me a lot during the my internship interview preparation. Like, my friends were spending days, weeks to prepare for the entire. Like, we have, for example, in an interview, we have a core CS section where you will be given questions for 5 to 10 minutes on the basics of computer science. So you should know it, and if you're not able to answer any of them, that's a huge red flag. So to prepare for that, people spend like 1 week, 2 week to prepare for that. But in case in my case, I did not have to prepare. I used to just spend 1 or 2 hours before the interview, just going through the topics and just recalling everything, because I when I studied it during my college, I had a good in-depth knowledge. So that should help you. So CGPA should be as high as possible.
Meaning CGPA definitely plays a good role to secure placements. So, coming on to the interview process and all, I'm pretty sure you've given a lot of interviews. So, you are probably the best person to ask this question to. What was your mindset and strategy to get through the entire placement process?
So, talking about me, my placement process, like starting from the placement and the end of placement, was, I think, 3 weeks. And I won't lie, it's very hectic. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of tension. Like, you will have a lot of pressure on you to perform. And those 3 weeks, truthfully, it's like the JE period of your life. You do not want to encounter that again. Like, it's the same for placements. You do not want to encounter those weeks that you had to prepare for placements, go through the placement process again. So it's very hectic, but again, like, what kept me moving was like the joy that, like, currently I do not have anything to do. I'm mostly free, I can do anything I want. I do not have much of academic pressure. I do not have any placements or anything, so I just have free time. I can spend it with family, go out with my friends, do something that I love, or anything. So this is what kept me going through these 3 weeks of my placement process. And if I include my preparation process, I started 6 months before. That is, my entire duration of my preparation was 6 months. I started in February, but I will say it's not required to start in February, because it's like even 2 3 months of preparation is more than enough. Like, one of the reasons I did it in February is because I was also involved in internships, hackathons, college work, or anything. So to balance everything out, I was engrossed in both my placements preparation and also the other works that I have. So now, coming to the strategy, one of my main focus while doing any. So I used lead code a lot. Like every day I used to grind on lead code, and I'll tell you one thing: I have solved 950 problems on lead code. But if you tell me on, like, if I time travel back to February and you tell me that I'll solve 900 problems, I'll just laugh at you, because I never imagined I'll solve 900 problems. My aim was somewhere around 200, 300. But I think I realized that what made me solve those 900 problems without even actually realizing it is consistent effort. If I open my LinkedIn graph and show, sorry, lead code graph and show you, from February 10th to I think July 31st, there's not a single day that I have not made a single submission. So every day I have made at least one submission, sometimes two, three, four. But every day I used to dedicate 1 or 2 hours, even if it's before my final examination, even if it's during my internship or anything. I consistently dedicated some time towards it, and that's it. Like 1 or 2 hours per day is way more than enough. Like I did not, like, if you think I spent 24 hours crammed in a room just studying for placements, like, it's totally wrong. I just spent 1 or 2 hours, and the rest of the day I used to go out with my friends, play football, watch football, TV series, or anything. Like there was a good amount of time for leisure activities then, but the main thing is consistency. Like not a single day did I miss, even if my exams are coming or anything. So that's the main thing, and that was the my entire strategy. Just be consistent with whatever I do, and it's not just for placements. Like anything that you want to achieve in life, consistency is the main thing. With consistency, everything becomes achievable.
So stay motivated and be consistent.
Yeah.
So going through the, having gone through the entire process, according to you, what is preferable, a startup or a multinational company? Like, what is the difference in their selection process?
So I'll talk about the differences first. Startup, as I said, mainly hires for certain roles. So, for example, there's a Node.js backend developer role or a React frontend developer, or suppose AWS deployment developer. So, when you interview for these startups, your questions will mostly be based on these technologies. So, suppose you're going for Node.js backend, all your questions will be focused on Node.js only. You won't face questions regarding anything, and there's a very rare possibility that they will ask questions related to like DSA or anything, but sometimes they do ask, but that's a rare condition. Mostly startups will test your knowledge on the role they're applying for, or maybe if it's a generic role, then the tech stack that they use. While if I move on to the multinational company, they have like a vast variety of tech stack. There are like hundreds of products they have. Each product may have a different tech stack, and they have a different skill set required. So how will they hire? In such cases, they go for the problem solving skills, like how efficient are you in your communication, how do you approach a problem, how do you think, how do you solve a problem. And that's why they focus on DSA based questions. While in startups, you will sometimes, in startups also, there are like API based rounds where you will have like 1 or 2 hour, you will be given some requirements and you have to develop some API using the tech stack of their preferences, or like not just API based rounds. It could be an app development based round or a front end based round, depending on the role. While in a MNC, you will rarely face this. It's mostly based on DSA and core CS. And preferable, again, it comes to individual choices. Startup, there's a very high learning rate that you have, because in a startup from day one you have to start contributing, while in an MNC it's not this scenario. You will have a lot of time to learn, and you will be gradually integrated into that project. But in a startup, it's from day one, so there's a high learning. While again, in a multinational company, you will actually learn proper methodologies that actually benefit the company. So for startup, since you're from day one starting to contribute, there are certain times there are lapses in the security, in the coding style, in the architecture. While in a multinational company, it's actually a rare thing to happen, because there are a lot of setups. Like in startups, there's the famous joke that you have, like, you delete from the wrong database. While try to do that in an MNC, and you will see that you will immediately be restricted by the system. So there's a more methodological way that you learn an MNC rather than a startup. So there are differences, and like there are pros and cons in both of them, and it again comes down to the individual choices. And talking about preferable, as I said, it's the individual choice of whether they want to work with a startup or an MNC. Like there's no harm in doing both. Like they are, both have different learning curves and anything, and they are equally good. So you do not have to think which is better or anything. Both of them are equally good. It comes down to individual choices and also the company as well.
All right. So between both of them, whatever suits your needs, like either you like a structure where you're just plunged into work and you progress a lot later on, or you want a more structured approach to it. It's upon the person. Coming down to the job sector, what is the current trend in job sectors that you observe? What are the fields that are accept? I'm so sorry. Uh, Coming down to the job sectors, what are the current trends that you have observed in it? And what are the fields that are expected to see a boom and provide more opportunities to students?
So current trend, you will obviously know data science. It's a highly trending sector right now, but there are also a lot of other sectors that are very easily overlooked, like because data science is like there's a hype over it, but there are other sectors in this industry that have a lot of opportunities. For example, DevOps is a very new sector that has come up, and although companies are slowly starting to accept it into their products, into the tech stack and everything, but it is highly beneficial for the company to have a DevOps developer in their team. Similarly, cloud development is again, there's a lot of opportunities there, but in a generic sense there's a lot of opportunity in any field, be it web development, app development. So there's a lot of opportunities. It comes down to how good you are in these fields. Like if you have a good knowledge, good basic knowledge and everything, you will obviously succeed in that field regardless of what the sectors the trend is currently right now. And like if I have to say the sectors that can boom, one of them is blockchain developer. It's slowly starting to be integrated into the mainstream life that we have. So there's a huge scope for that blockchain development. So that is one field there. Like currently there is some hype, but it's not up to that level where it can reach. So if I say one thing, it would be blockchain development.
Right. So, coming to an end of our questions, what are the things, according to you, that are often overlooked by students?
Uh, like from what I see, like I do talk with a lot of juniors that I've seen in college, and one thing that I see is they do not focus on fundamentals. They, for example, I'll just tell you. Suppose you're learning front end web development, you do some boot camp of 1 week, you learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then you go to React. Now, suppose now you're good in React and you're able to make large scale projects and anything. But the truth about this industry is React will one day die. There will be some new technology that will come up. Even that new technology will die. So again, you can't change your skill set again and again and again. Like you were a React developer, now you have to start from scratch another framework. But but again, now if he starts from scratch, it will take him a lot of time to master that. The reason he mastered React was he spent, like suppose he spent 5 years doing React and he mastered it. Now he can't spend 5 years learning a new technology. While if you had a good fundamental knowledge in JavaScript, which I believe many people actually skip, they do not actually, like if you ask them to write some simple DSA based programs in JavaScript, I'm pretty sure they will fail miserably. So this is one very practical example where people hardly skip the fundamentals and they just go on things that are built upon them. So if you have a strong base in JavaScript, you can easily migrate from React to some other frameworks within a span of 1 month, 2 months instead of 3, 4 years. So this is what I feel, that students, there's a high chance that they overlook fundamentals of computer science and anything. So again, another example, suppose as I said before, DBMS concurrency is one of the major issues faced by any MNC or any startup or any company. People easily overlook it while they make their projects. They do not think about concurrency, they do not think about threads, atomicity, or anything, because it is all abstracted from them via libraries. But if you're working in a company, these libraries will never be used. So you will have to be working on these, you will have to look through these. So again, it comes down to how good you are with your fundamentals. And this is what I believe most students overlook. And it does harm them in a longer run, because you do not know the fundamentals. Once there's a change of technology or tech stack, they suffer because they cannot cope up so quickly. Like, suppose you have 5 years experience in this field, and you're not expected to take the same time as it would take a fresher to learn that skill. Like, suppose a fresher takes 6 months to learn that skill, you with 5 years of experience should learn it in 2 3 months. But again, if your fundamental is weak, you cannot learn it. It will take you a lot of time. So if I give an advice to everyone who's watching this video, try to work on your fundamentals. Like, there's no harm in going over, like, learning React or Angular or any new framework, but focus on the basics, focus on JavaScript. If you're using Python, Django, or Flask, then learn about Python. If you're doing data science, you're using models, uh, decision tree, random forest, or if you're using deep learning or neural networks, then learn the maths behind it, like how it works or anything. So that would actually help you. Once you are in the job sector, it will you will see that there's more opportunities for you if you have a very strong fundamental knowledge.
Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for such an insightful advice, and really thank you, for sharing your personal and academic experiences. It has really been a pleasure and an honor, and I'm sure your guidance will pave a much comprehensive path for our audience towards their future.
I think this conversation has been really great. Very good insights and good conversations, I feel, overall. Thank you for taking time out to tell us about your journey and how we should go about paving path for ourselves. If any of our audiences have any more questions, they can drop it down in the comment section, or you can even go to ZBC's Insta page and leave a DM there. Siddharth Bhaiya, we wish you all the very best for all your future endeavors. And once again, congratulations for your placement. Thank you, guys. Thank you, all of you, for staying with us till the end. And stay tuned for more such episodes.